Well, welcome to Agency Talk. And Tim, we are very lucky people, Tim. But that we have a show, and that two, we get to interview and talk to really incredible, amazing, smart people. Way smarter than me.
And me.
Well, I'll tell you this, just so the listeners, if you've finally tuned in, this is the very beginning of this podcast. We are on a mission to bring you answers and actionable content and amazing people that you get to learn and glean from, and that get to be North Stars. If you didn't know them, you should know them. But one of the things that is really the way that this show is shaped is just the amount of unbelievable questions that come in about running an agency, scaling an agency, growing an agency, and they just go across the board. And it's the reason why we have such an unbelievably sage, wise human being in Tim Burke, and why I just get to be kind of the Sherpa who tags along every once in a while to learn some stuff too. And today is kind of our first episode, Tim. We get to kick it off. I'm so excited about today. But before we get into that, I wanted to tell you, Tim and I have been talking a lot. We talk often about topics that come up, and three of some of those. Let's talk about some of those topics, Tim, that have come up recently. That the reason why we have this really special guest here to speak definitively to those things.
Right. Well, ultimately, and I think you touched on it, is that we've gotten feedback from agency leaders who are saying, hey, you know what? That was a great idea. That was a great thought. That was a great takeaway. And you conclude every one of these episodes with, hey, listen, go take what you learned today and put it to good use. And that's what we're hoping to do. And so when we look at the totality of running a digital agency, I know one of the first books I read years ago was How to Run a Happy, Healthy Digital Agency.
Oh my goodness.
So, that she's a friend of ours is secondary to the fact that, she's got great wisdom to bring. So why don't you do your introduction and we'll bring her in.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't guessed by now, the dead giveaway of one of the most read agency books, and just something that we continue to use as a holy grail. But some things you might not know about her that I think is really good. Born in Dublin, raised in Sligo. Started her career in '95, which is shows you that she's got some wisdom, and she's been around the game for a hot minute. So much so that she's actually. This is the one I want. This is the stat line that I love for 25. This is like 400 plus, Tim. 400 plus agencies she's had the opportunity to consult. She's a staple in the old Hubspot world. She is iconic when it comes to talk about running an agency, and continuously surprises me at just all the new things that she's doing. She never slows down, and she is our good friend and amazing human being, Clodagh Higgins. Clodagh, welcome to the show.
Gentlemen,
Welcome.
An absolute privilege. Delighted to be here. Great to see your lovely faces.
Well, I can only see Tim's face, obviously, is the lovely face she was referring to. Clodagh, we know you're all over the world. We know you're all over. I'm looking at your background right now. You're just traveling. You're doing so many things. I just am so thankful that you would take just a little bit of time to come in and talk on Agency Talk. And here's the thing, Clodagh, you are our first guest on the podcast.
No.
Very first.
Just privileged. I can't believe, I was saying to you before we were recording, I was driving down to Dublin, first time I've been out of my home county in Ireland for a long time, and excited about being in Dublin. I'm thinking, geez, just when you think, you've achieved a lot, here I am going to do a gig with you, Marcus, tomorrow. And the first episode guest of Agency Talk. And look, I just love being able to do and talk and be in an industry that keeps growing, keeps giving. I feel very privileged. And the last couple of years, it's been a rocky old what's going on in the world, but we're not in the cruise industry. We're not in bars or restaurants. We're very, very lucky, and lots more to give, lots more to do, lots more to share with people. So thanks for having me.
Oh man, it's our pleasure. First of all, you are the no-brainer when it comes to conversations that Tim and I have and answers that we need to get. Okay. So selfishly, we are trying to reap today, trying to get all these answers to questions and just understanding, like, there are people out there, there are agency owners right now listening to this who are probably starving. The reason why we started Agency Talk in the first place is because there's an overwhelming need for practitioner-led information where people can talk to people that are in the trenches and not in ivory towers, no theologians, like truly people that are doing the work and have done the work, and you fit that bill. So, Tim and I just had this conversation, and I want to start here because I feel like we could probably have a whole episode just about one of these topics, but I have 3 things that I want to get through to make sure that we are on track to utilize your time correctly. So the first thing, we got to talk a little bit about, and this is something that Tim and I talk about all the time, which is just the big, bad, scary elephant in the room that continuously comes up, but no one really kind of knows how to digest it. And I really want to start here because it's such a big topic, which is artificial intelligence. And I'm not talking about the stuff that I fake, my facade of intelligence that I try to wield all the time. I'm talking about stuff that is not human and how it affects the agency world, what it looks like from where you're sitting, Clodagh, because you're super tapped in, what people should be paying attention to, what people should be running from. I mean, Tim and I literally get that question all the time, and I feel like you are so in the middle of everything and you can answer that so well.
Yeah. Just fascinated by this topic. Now, I'm going to caveat this. I'm not an expert in the field of AI, but I observe for the impact on agencies. And if you think of the phrase "follow the money," my big thing is follow the agency owner. And this whole AI started with Paul Raitzer, PR 2020. He started. He was running PR 2020, one of the first agencies in Hubspot. I personally met him in Dublin when he was speaking at the Partner Day program we had in 2013. The room in EMEA Partners had like 12 people in it, and he was talking about his agency. A few years later, he started to look into AI. And he built a separate business for AI consulting, but not AI, the robot side, AI in marketing. And he has a blog called the Marketing AI Institute. And I watched some of Paul's talks about it. And what he did was he was passionate about it. And then he used his agency as a guinea pig. So I think agencies today follow the agency owner, look at the guys, especially if we're talking about the HubSpot ecosystem. You look at the guys and where are they moving? What are the big guys doing? Because you will be doing that 2, 3, 4 years time. And so if you look at what Paul's done, he's got Marketing AI Institute, a great place to start. Some of his inbound talks, he just goes, he took a problem in the agency and looked at what AI was around to actually take that on. He started with reporting for his examples. The reports, they were taking 4 or 5 hours. We know client reports, they're important. They're part of what's going to get you hired for the next thing. But the amount of time, he started to implement some AI tools. Lo and behold, very shortly, his reports, higher quality, better stats, 20 minutes. Put that across all your clients, that's huge.
Paul row your boat, Raitzer, is a good friend of mine as well. And I love that he has been putting that. One of the things that I asked him in a conversation we had was what cannot be automated. And I want to know, because I'm looking at Tim's face, and Tim usually brings me back to reality. And so there's a question here for Tim as well. But, I want to know what actually scares agencies away from thinking about artificial intelligence. And, like you said, here's the need, here's the thing that has to be done in the agency, here's what artificial intelligence can do. And I just want to know what the limitations are and what's the balance there?
On my end, and we've talked to this over a couple conversations, when you begin with the end in mind, it's not always efficiency that you're trying to drive. You have to drive backwards from results. And if you can do that efficiently, that's the game right there. So in what Clodagh was just talking about, where you can use AI to help speed up reporting, but not dilute it, that's valuable. Anywhere where you can save time. But AI is just one of those terms that I think may be a little prohibitive for a lot of people. But most people have Grammarly on their computer. and Grammarly is AI.
Thank God. Thank God.
Right, exactly. So I think when it comes to content generation, I think that it's extremely valuable to personalization strategies, to some creative strategies. A/B testing everybody's aware of, but how you do it and how quickly you invoke that really powerful creative, it becomes very important, and AI can help you with that. So I think there's places for it. I think that the thing in my mind, and I'm not negative about it at all, I'm looking for any opportunity to get more efficient, but it's got to, at the end of it, be effective.
Yeah, Clodagh, same thing. I mean, when you're sitting there and you're looking through what you just said and you're matching it up, I totally understand that. What's the stigma that people are escaping from? Like, why would what could you say to ease an agency owner's mind about artificial intelligence?
I think it's because it's such a big topic. And it's also because there's so much other things to do. It feels like this AI has been sneaking around. And what I feel about it is you can be very preoccupied with the things that you understand. You can get lost in the Hubspot ecosystem of all the stuff that they're sending you. And you can let AI, and you go, I'll get round to that. I'll get onto that in a while, because you really don't think it's part of what you do, because you've got the expertise and the specialization and the great team. And that's wonderful. Yes, you do. However, what you don't want is any of those AI tools being found by any one of your customers before you, because the minute they find something, they go, hey, I just saw this thing. It does blogs. What am I paying you for? So it's about getting ahead of it. I'm not saying swap out everything, but at least look at the top 12 apps that are out there and look at one a month, break it down and go, let's look at this one, because if you can bring it into your system, into your agency before your client finds it, you can start offering better value, because you'll be getting all this grunt work done. You'll be more efficient. Your team will have more time to train and learn and give expertise. And they won't even see that, or what'll happen is they'll find the tool, but you're adding such more value and more expertise that it doesn't even become a problem. It's a game right now. It's a race.
Totally agree.
It's interesting you said that, because what I think is, what I think people will probably want to know is, what are the tools that people should be paying attention to? So, like, can you give us a few examples of some of the tools that you're like, oh man, this is incredible. I totally think everybody should look into this, because I think that's the stuff that's like, okay, great. We're over the hump on feeling like this thing's scary.
Yeah.
Now what the heck? What's the first step?
Yeah, I remember an agency owner was on a mastermind call with us. It's at least 6 months ago. And at the time it was called conversion.ai, but it's now been renamed to Jarvis. And it was all about sharing tools. And he came on and he was absolutely excited. Our lovely agency owners who get super enthusiastic about things. And he was so enthusiastic. I was going, we all went on after that and went, OMG, this is phenomenal. So if you want to start somewhere, go look at Jarvis. $29 a month, blog topics, Facebook topics, product topics, Amazon topics. And it's not going to do everything for you, but my goodness, will it give you a great start for your account manager, your digital strategist, your copywriter, your content writers, all of it. Explore that as a starting point. I think that's the first one. I also know Hike SEO, if you haven't seen that one. They're using a lot of AI as well, a UK company. And they would be, I don't want to figure all of them out. I'm not Paul Raitzer. I'm not Marketing AI Institute. But I think start there. Hike SEO, Jarvis, 2 tools. Then graduate into the Marketing AI Institute and look at what they're doing. Probably designate somebody on the team. There's somebody on the team who's mad into this, right? But they might be investigating it in their private time, but they haven't told you about it. But I bet you there's someone on the team that is just love to do it. And you could give them a project every month and go, hey, check out the best SEO tools. Hey, check out the best things, and get them to present back to the team with some examples. And before you know it, they could end up being the AI person in your business. You don't know where it's going to go. But I think that would be my starting point. Those 2 tools, Paul's, I'm going to give him a big shout out. I'm a big fan, you can tell. And then just check it out with people. Who's interested? Who'd like to own that rock, that project?
I'm going to come back to this podcast because Paul's going to be on here, by the way, so it's pretty exciting. He's going to be a guest on AgencyTalk, yes. And I'm going to be like, man, we were on here with Clodagh Higgins, and she was just saying the worst stuff about you to make him come back and listen to this episode.
I've actually got a very funny story, just a quick side story about Paul.
Please tell this funny story about Paul.
I remember when I joined HubSpot, I was 40. The kids were 25. I had my own agency and I wanted to be in Ireland and in the whole ecosystem. And I remember Paul coming into the room and handing up his books and things like this. And I sat there and I'm like, here's a man writing a book. I can write a book. Fast forward the next year at Inbound at the bar, I go up to Paul, maybe after a few whiskeys, I don't know. And I just leaned up against the bar and I'm like, Paul, you were in Dublin and you wrote a book. I'm going to tell you something now. I own an agency and I work in HubSpot. I'm going to write a book. And it was, I don't know what it was. It was like something about saying it to him. And he goes, I know you will. You absolutely will. And then the next year or 2 years later, I was able to go up to him and give him a copy of the book. And he went, I knew you'd write that. So he was an inspiration to me, but I also forced myself to give myself accountability. It was a funny time.
I love when people just expect you to be great. Do you know what I mean? Like it wasn't a surprise to Paul. He's like, yeah, you're going to write it. And then when you gave it to him, I knew you were going to write it. Right? That's so fulfilling for like successful people. And by the way, so if you haven't looked up Paul wrote the Marketing Blueprint, which is phenomenal. That was such it feels like ages ago, right? Because of how much he's totally in the AI groove right now. Yeah. But that is such a foundational book, just like your book. Like I think the reason why you guys probably bonded so much is because when you look at cornerstone books, like not only what's the blueprint of an agency, but how do you run it? Right? Like those two, they're very referenced books hand in hand. So no wonder you guys were kindred spirits way back then. So that's pretty cool to hear. Excited to have him on the program, but that's not about him today. No. Paul's so selfish. It's not about you today, Paul. It's about Tim and I, and primarily Tim and how selfish he is and how he steals the spotlight. But Tim, I know that there's more questions that you and I get all the time, but what's another topic that you want to throw at Clodagh's way to get some awesome answers?
I think one of the things that you and I have talked about a lot, Clodagh, is long-term goals for the agency. Yeah. And just goal setting in general and marking yourselves against those rocks, those goals. And if you want to talk a little bit about some of the benchmarks that some of your agencies set, I think that'd be really helpful for folks.
Yeah. It's so fascinating working with agency owners because they are entrepreneurs in a very eccentric way. You know that I say that lovingly. They're also really good salespeople. And so they have ideas and goals and things, but always in their head. And one of the first things that I have to work on with agency owners is going, what do you want from this? What are you doing this for? I know you're doing it for fun because you love it. But what is it actually success look like? And what are you wanting out of it? Do you want to start just getting yourself out of the business? Do you want to sell it? What do you want to do? And it's always in your head, but it's sending you off to go, be really clear about what it is and be brutally honest. Don't pretend I want this agency for 20 years. I want to grow it to 50 people. When in the back of your mind, you're like, I can't wait to get out of here. I want to work 1 day a week. I want to fish for 4. I want to golf for 2. And it's about being crystal and honest with yourself. I think the first thing that I see when I go into an agency is that sometimes the agency owner feels outnumbered. I don't have kids, but I've seen families where it's 2 parents and there's 3, 4, 5, 6 kids. They're like, God, this was easier when it was 2. We're outnumbered. Same things happen in an agency. Very, very few agency owners get involved in an agency business because they love HR. They love doing one-on-ones. They love doing career plans. They know they can do them, but it's not their love. Otherwise, they would be in HR. So I think it starts with you as the agency owner. You got to be brutally honest. What you thought it was going to look like and what it looks like. Okay, what are we going to do about it? And being just clear with yourself. And then, in a way, being honest with the team. Honest with the team with a plan. to go, this is what I thought it was going to be. This is why I'm here. This is where I want to go. And I use a lot of boating analogy, even though I'm not a sailor, but it is up to you. Whatever boat you want. Do you want a rowing boat with only 6 people in it? Are you champagne sailing? Do you want a catamaran? What does it look like? What's the team look like? What race are you in? Where are you going? And once you lay that out and brutally honest, yeah, some people will go, oh, I don't want this. I thought we were champagne sailing. You mean we're in the Sydney to Hobart? What are you talking about? But it's better that we help them find the right boat that they want to be on rather than being an anchor and dragging you back. So I think it's just a little bit of self-reflection time first, get the goals clear. And once it all pans out, you can put the right people in the right seats on the boat with their good skills and what they need to do.
But this has been such a fascinating 18 months, where the world's been a little bit upside down. And most of the time, agency owners, especially late October, early November, we're planning on the next year. Many places I've worked, we used to flip the physical calendar to the next year, 2 months before the end of the current, just to get ourselves off to a great start. And so as agencies are preparing for 22, what are some of your agency owners that you consult with talking about in terms of where they see 22 and those specific goals that they might be talking about, hey, we've got to get into, or whatever those issues and goals are?
Yeah. Again, kind of back to my original statement around follow the agency owner. Like right now, if you aren't building your own learning center, training, and I don't care if you go into Hubspot and re-record all those videos in your tone, in your geography, in your accent, in your location, in your language, it doesn't matter. But being the expert for the people that you want to work with, that's number one right now. As much as I love you guys, I love American accents. Sometimes Europeans would like to hear different accents. So
how dare you?
Know.
I'm appalled. You're absolutely right, because I'm proving that point right now.
Your transplant.
Yeah. So that's the first part, is you're looking at your learning center, looking at, there is no issue at all at recreating things in languages, in tone, in style, in expertise, and starting there. And if you are paying half an ounce of attention, so many agencies, have done that. You can see they're doing it. You can see they're building their academies, they're training, and you look at it and you go, but your HubSpot's done that. Or, Infusionsoft has done, not the way an agency can, not what the experts can, not with their tone, voice, country, language, all of those. So I think that's the first place to start looking at. The second one is coaching, consulting. We all know it's so big. Digital marketing, digital sales marketing, it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Companies have realized they can't outsource all of it to somebody. They actually need to start learning how to do this themselves. Now, you can wait and sit there when your big client goes 2022, we've got to bring it in-house. And there's a Gartner report out that I dropped the link in for you guys afterwards, that shows a very high percentage of companies are thinking about this, going, yeah, we didn't realize how big it was. PPC, SEO, content, AI, We're going to bring it in-house. Now, you can be in a situation going, what are you going to do when your biggest client goes, we're bringing this in-house? You can cry, you can throw your toys out of the cot, you can do all of that. Or you can say, yes, I'm so pleased. That is exactly the right thing to do. And here we have 6, 9, 12-month package ready to help you, because we know how hard it is, and we'll help you build your own marketing team in-house. Or you can sit in the corner and cry. So I think the future, we have to acknowledge it can't go away. These companies are going to bring people in slowly and slowly. And your learning center, those are the two areas that are really, really important to look at. And the agencies I'm working with are thinking about that.
So I spent a lot of time in the corner crying, based on your description there. And I just want to know, I think it's such a human thing to sit there and go, okay, but like That sounds like a lot of work. And my question is, and this comes way down to more of the people that are on your team. Like you just talked about it before, and we've talked about this as well. There's a difference between empowering people and giving them something that they're passionate about, and also hiring for the seat rather than trying to put a person in it that you currently have, right? And you just talked about, you said there's two different types of, there's different boats. I love, by the way, that you're using boats and you don't boat. I think that's the best thing I've ever heard in my life. It's like, but when you think about it, if you have this champagne cruise idea and that boat requires a different level of crew than, a paddle boat or a crew boat, right? And so at what point is it so important to hire for the vision you have, or to occupy or up level your people to that place? Give us a little bit of like ideas about how we man it, because all this feels for me just personally a bit overwhelming in terms of, I know what we need to do. Like if I'm an agency owner, I'm crying in the corner, I know what we need to do, but I'm not practically understanding how to connect the dots with the team that I have that might not be the right one to man the ship. Does that make sense?
I totally do. And it absolutely starts, if you think of the whole culture of an agency, when we get the big client or the client or any work that we're so enthusiastic about it, we have an agreement, it's great. The client's like, yeah, great, we'll get back to you. We know what we're doing. And then what happens is this thing of the client is not responding on time to deadlines. And the agency, oh, don't worry, we know you're busy. And it starts to do a little bit of people pleasing, right? And you start to bend over, and then you start to add things in that you shouldn't have. And a bit of scope creep happens, right? So if you think of where that goes, and then we're on a trajectory down and down and down. The client doesn't respond on time. You can't get the blog out. The blog doesn't perform the way it should have. We're going down and down because we were nice and thank you. Oh yeah, we understand you're too busy, right? So the conversation here at the people pleasing level, internally in the company, both externally with clients and with culture, people, they were a bit grumpy today. I let them away with that. You start those conversations and they go like that. Your agency culture goes down. The client start, after a few months, years, whatever it is, the client goes, yeah, I'm not seeing any value in what we're doing here. What happened? You let them away with things, right? So this is a huge shift. And I've been working inside under the hood with Impact over the last 9 months. And it has been fascinating to watch how they have understood the power of radical candor, crucial conversations, cleaning up communication, the bending over backwards for the client because, oh my God, they're so big. Those days are gone. Whether you're producing content for them, doing work for them, we have to get really clear about our communication. We have to get really clear about out of scope work. And that's educating your team first. Having really good, clean conversations about, look, I understand you're like this, but, without being absolutely arrogant, and finding a middle ground and going, cleaning up communication is the starting point internally and then externally. Once you get on that path, you can start to educate your client. You go, we're the expert. Yes, I know you want to do that email campaign, but we're over here in a blogging strategy and we're the experts. Now, there's a way to do that without being arrogant. There's a way to do that by encouraging the client to come back to you as the expert, to not throw work at you. You keep letting them give you and change the scope of the work, where you're going to end up. They're doing the marketing plan that doesn't get results, that they don't see value in, and it all comes back to bite you on the bum. So instead of being overwhelming, just start to look at really clean conversations. Radical Candor is a book, how to have crucial conversations, clean up your language internally, and start to just get somewhat, hang on, like, I understand you want to do that, but that's going to impact this. And just training your team how to be authentic and how to be standing in your ground and owning your space. And it's okay to say no, which a lot of people find hard to do. And finding a way to say no that the client goes, yeah, you're right, actually, we should stay on track.
Amazing. It's tough. If you can't be, if you're a leader in an agency, all right, organization, business in general, and you can't say no, and you can't actually stand your ground with the client, then the rest of your team's not going to do it either. Right. They just won't. And I think that there's something to say about that. I think that it's funny because I always listen to you, and I listen to Tim, and I listen to you, and I want to know where the confidence comes from. Because if I'm sitting here and I'm listening as an agency owner, I'm probably sitting around going like, yeah, maybe I need to be more direct. Maybe I do need to have those. And you can. Those books, Crucial Conversations was like one of the first books I've ever read when I was kind of like trying to figure out customer success. Like that was a staple. Radical Candor is just insane. And by the way, if Impact's doing anything, if Bob and Marcus are doing anything over there, everybody should just go and follow everything that they do. They're unbelievable. But I do think that those are two things that I would love to know where. Like what's the advice on confidence? Like where do people walk out and feel confident? Like I'm going to be honest with because I know why they're not being honest with their clients. It seems like they're probably afraid to lose them. Right. And is that, I'm assuming that's a place that both of you can speak to really quickly.
I think it actually has. So to me, radical candor starts with the conversation I have with myself. It's not about my ability to say no to you. It's about my ability to understand what we really are. And then as we go out to try and aggregate a list of new clients, we're going after those like-minded clients. So if you start your partnership with somebody who's like-minded, then very often you're not getting into a lot of those hard no's. You're both working in the same direction. You're both respectful of each other. Our clients respect us. We definitely respect our clients. And if they get in a jam because of something that happened with a client and there's a fire drill, and those happen occasionally, we try and help them with that. So I think the radical candor is deciding as an agency whether you're a factory or whether you're a lab. And there's a big difference between those two. And once you know what you are and you attract those clients that, you can work well with, I think radical candor is super important. I'm from New Jersey. I've been radically candorized my entire life. So saying no isn't difficult, but it's not something you want to do if you don't have to.
Yeah.
You want to be that partner that's helpful. So I think it starts with understanding the real radical nature of the conversation has to start with you as the agency owner and then filter through your agency so everybody knows what they are. And we'll attract those people that are attracted to us. And we don't have to get too radical too often.
Absolutely, yeah. And setting that up in the conversations for sales as well. When you are strong in that, and you were saying, this is what we do. We're really great at this. Being just crystal clear with your client going, don't be looking for brands and names and vanity metrics. That's that classic, I'm going to go out with a really good looking guy. And then you go on a date with him and you're like, so it's about going, these are my values. This is what I'm interested in. This, don't be pretending you're something else. Those things never work out. And I think I think the big thing we've got to remember as well, right? What I've seen, especially we had this huge issue with when I was working in the Nordics, and we would start off and the salesperson's very strong, go, this is what we're good at, and we're not going to do this and we're going to do that. And they're very, very clear. And what would happen, it would come to an account manager. Account manager 20, 25, under 30, right? What you and I've got to remember is we have never died from hearing the word no. We heard no so many times. No was like every second word when we grew up. There's been another way of growing. Children have had a totally different experience from us where they didn't have to ask out anybody face to face. They never got rejected on the slap. I can't tell how many boys I rejected because I had no clue. I was going around pals with him and my mom's like, you're breaking his heart. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We're just friends. And then after a while, they go, would you like to go at me? And I'm like, no. I'm like, what are you talking about? Because I just didn't come.
First of all, I was that guy. I'm just very, I think I would have saved so much money in high school and college if I would have known I was a friend. You know what I mean?
It was just like friends only, but you have this hope and I've learned a lot from that. But if you think of how many no's you heard, you're still alive, you're sitting here and you're great. There's a whole ecosystem of people who never had a physical face-to-face no. They've been afraid of it, so they'd screen it, they'd message it, they'd hide behind their phones. And so when you don't hear something, the concept, the less you do, the less it becomes this big mountain, and you actually think you're going to die if you hear a no. So one of the things that we had to do was just to educate our whole account management team and get them used to some role plays and go, let's do it. Okay, the older person in the client has come and asked you to go and scrap all that campaign and do this. Instead of spending your evenings trying to navigate it, let's brainstorm how you would do that. And saying no and getting comfortable with being uncomfortable is the starting point. And that's just role plays that we can all help them with. And once you get their confidence there, then they can start to, oh, I said no and I didn't die. And that is huge. And you'll start to see everyone doing it. That's a big area that you kind of over there in the corner, you're going, what's wrong with you? Just say no. Because we heard no. We said no. We lived through it. We've got a whole generation of people who parents never said no to them. It's like they were never in an uncomfortable situation.
I feel like we could go a whole episode on generational fragility, but I have to change gears or else I'm going to get in a lot of trouble.
We could be here
because, but it's true. I mean, one of the things that's really interesting is that this role playing thing that you talked about. I feel like that's old. That's like, it feels old hat, right? Like I used to role play every day. Tim, you ran huge sales organizations. We role played all the time. Yeah. Are you guys still role playing in agencies? In the agency world?
Not enough. And I think there's real value there because the beauty of the role play is you feel like you've been there before when it happens to you.
Right.
So, and you're rehearsed and it's not, you don't have to think about how to handle it. So I think customer service teams for agencies should be role playing. I know here, at our company, we should be doing a lot more than we do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what a great reminder. Like if you're listening to this podcast right now, I just feel like that's a gold nugget. It's like, put that one away for later. But role playing seems like a massive missed opportunity, and it is interesting because we practice everything else in our lives. Right. And I don't mean to cross over some sports stuff here because I know you're an avid boater, Clodagh. So I just want to make sure we're tying it back is that, we practice so many other things in our life to do when it matters that we're just kind of like, we're on, right. We get it. We kind of like fall into place. And man, what a major missed opportunity to not be able to do that in the agency world.
1 hour a week, like these things like book clubs and role plays and communication training, watching TED Talks. Any of those sort of ways that are outside of, HubSpot training, digital marketer training, which is all brilliant and really important for the job, but those soft skills, they're huge. And I'll go back to Impact every single week. Marcus Sheridan still does them with the team. Yeah. Imagine, like Marcus, on stage doing the speak, but he knows the value of him coming in and doing role play. So if someone like Marcus, who doesn't need to be on a role play, is doing them on a weekly basis with his coaching team, you got to think he's not doing it because, he loves them, let's be honest, but he's not doing it because he loves them. He can see the power and the impact on the rest of his team 1 hour a week.
Is it the responsibility of the agency owner to facilitate that? What I mean by that is not the role plays per se, but you mentioned like TED Talks and stuff like that. Is that like unpaid time? I remember being a person that was coming up as an employee before I became an entrepreneur and business owner, where like I did the above and the beyond things because I was really interested in it. I wanted to go the extra mile. I wanted to be a great employee. I wanted more opportunity, and I didn't necessarily wait around for like it to be institutionalized within the organization, right? And I took that on myself. So I want to know is it really, do I have to push that, or is that something that I should just be looking for my team because I hired well?
Yeah. See, I love this, and we're going to circle right back around to the beginning of our conversation where if you're running an agency, you're aiming for that 70% utilization, right? That's the holy grail number that we're going. What people are doing in the other 30%, it's a mixture of training, internal meetings, breaks, etc. So you've got, see that 30% and your 70%. Ooh, imagine if we could get that 70% and there was some AI tools helping us make the most. What do we end up with here? We might have another 10%. So you could have 10% for actual expertise training, so that all the certifications, all the future professional training that you want. And you could have another 10% where you are actually paying people, because your AI is working in the background, you're paying your team to be better communicators, to want it. And what happens when you get a hook for it? Then you start reading those books in your own time. But it's right back to that circle. You've got 30% of your time. If you get some AI tools in, you could actually help them start that journey.
That sounds exactly like what we did here, and 70% is spot on and resonates. But I would say this: I think we talked with people about feeding their heads, and Marcus, you brought up, hey, when I was coming up, I did that myself, right? And you did feed your head, and you were a passionate digital marketer, and you were passionate about advancing in your career. And over the course of 10 years here, we've had people who were extremely passionate digital marketers that constantly fed their head. We've had people that really got here, at 9 and left not, long after at 5, who didn't do a lot of that outside. But the thing I think we've got to do as agency owners is make sure, just like the sports teams do, that our training is focused, that ultimately everybody's reading from the same playbook. So when we talk about what does radical candor look like at an ad agency, for us, it's the ability to say yes, not no, because we've already outlined what the scope is. And if we're going to go beyond the scope, I want my CX team to say, yes, we can absolutely do that. But as we've previously discussed, that's going to be another, 3, 4, 7 hours, on this side. So there will be additional costs to that. But yes, we can do that. That type of thing. So I think making sure everybody's reading from that same playbook is different than just going out and feeding your head. And we found that out here is we've got to get distilled a little bit in our information and what everybody here is consuming. Yeah.
And I'll give you a tiny cog in that as well. And a video that's it's on my YouTube channel. If you think it's Agency Live YouTube.
We'll link it.
Yeah. What we understand how an agency works, right? We know that that's 70% high quality work results. We know that when we turn up in the morning, by being present, refreshed, hydrated, we're going to do the best work, right? This is performance. This is sport performance. It's also the same in professional services. But people have never, ever been told, if you have a good night's sleep and you get up the next day and you give it your all, we're going to have these great, happy clients that love coming back to us. We're going to make more profits. Those profits will get the foosball machine. Did I say that right? The drinks, the pizza nights, the things that you love, the profitability and all the lovely things you want, it's in your hands. But they've never been explained to them like that before. They've been in companies where, the Hoolies, or there's like slushy machines and, share profits have given them that. So they don't understand that you want that lifestyle. It starts with you. So if you are efficient, great work, get it done on time. The client loves it. You're responsive. The more you perform as an excellent machine, all the things are possible because you're making the company profits and you're just agreeing on all of that. So I have a video about the importance of time management. And it is an eye-opener because somebody goes, I didn't realize, when I ask you for something, it's actually up to me to be able to contribute to it.
Gosh, that's good. Because the other side of that is that when I ask the question, I also need to understand that however much I'm putting out there and I'm asking of you, I'm equally going to end up having more work. It's not expediting my answer. It's actually just being, it puts a lot of onus on yourself, which is great.
Yeah, which is the lovely thing for people to appreciate then, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, I want to bring you back. I know we're getting toward the end of our stuff, but I want to bring you back just because I want to, we're obviously friends. We're doing a lot together, but we could have a whole nother section on hiring alone. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. We could literally talk about who's on the ship and who's not, and how the heck do we, I know we can inoculate against a lot of problems if we're really intentional in our hiring process. So I kind of want to steer it that way, but I don't want to go way into the depths of that. But I do want to ask you that question. Because I feel like we're talking about a lot of people. We're talking about their characteristics. We all want to hire really well. We don't just want the 9 to 4 or 5 person, but we also want to create a good culture. There's a lot of little things that go into this. But what I'm interested in is how do we hire well? What are the things that we're looking for early on that are characteristics of a really good person who's going to come in and be a change agent in your agency? And I think that you're probably super well suited to answer that and help us to maybe rid out some of the problems that arise. Because I know both of you have probably never hired anybody that didn't really really pan out and wasn't a good, fit for the agency.
Tim, do you want to kick it off and then I'll circle back around?
Yeah, I think you can never underestimate the power of people. And sometimes we'll bring somebody in here and the difference that they make so immediately is so wonderful, and it just energizes everybody. So, and we believe here that you have to understand what you need from that particular position and then hire that particular person for that seat, right? And we do some advanced, surveying that we do with people to make sure that those people have the DNA to succeed in that job. And when you bring the right people in, it just makes all the difference in the world. And so you want to hire those spectacular people because that's what spectacular people want, is more of that. They get energized by people who are, tremendous at what they do and passionate about the way that they do it. So I just think hiring is never been more difficult than it is right now. It's also never been more important than it is right now. So sometimes you just have to wait a little bit longer to find that right person, because putting the wrong person in that seat is just, it not only does it cost you money as an agency, but it costs your culture. Your team has watched somebody fail in a position, and that's not a great thing, to make a regular habit of. So we all make hiring mistakes, but you try and mitigate those as best you can by hiring the right people through experience and whatever pre-vetting you can do.
Yeah. It's probably one of the biggest pain points. It has always been, right? There's always been a challenge with hiring. But today, with this, you can live anywhere, you can work anywhere. The employees know that. And if you're half good, if you're like quarter good, you can get any job that you want. So the market has, it's always been a challenge for agencies. You ramp that up now by everyone's international, and it doesn't matter where you work or live, and you're not doing the geography. And this is so funny, Marcus, because this is beautiful closure. And I swear to God, we have not scripted this, even though I feel like it has been.
No, it's great.
The last time I was physically on stage was when you were introducing me, and it was the DAX event in New York. Gary V was on the same stage the day before.
Mark Roberge. It was fantastic.
Unbelievable. Yeah. It was an agency event. And my talk was on the 12 steps to hire rock star people for your agency. And I reviewed that, and I'll put the link in. I have a link for that there. So don't worry, anyone, if you're like, oh, I'm panicking about it, I haven't got time to listen to all this, have got a video for you on that. And I reviewed that, and those steps apply in the same way. And they're really simple of back to the agency owner. You're clear about what boat you're building. You put that on your recruitment page going, this is our boat. This is what it looks like. We love going into storms. Or no, we're like over here on the lake. It's cool. So once you're clear about this is what we look like, this is where we're going, you're clear about your values. You've also, a big thing is making sure people send in a video to you. Too many times
that's good.
You get on a Zoom call and it could be one thing. I know this is going to be a really bad thing, and it could be a chick thing, but if I see a messy background, I can't concentrate on, is this person messy? Is this their life? Or is this just a messy room? And I know that's a simple thing. And I know men sometimes don't see those details because you're like zoomed in on the person, but chicks see that. Well, I certainly do. And what it ends up doing, so things like a video, getting someone to go, why would you join our agency? Send us a video. Now, they could flip up a video, or they could do some production. It's all about getting a feeling for them before you get on a Zoom call, because your time's precious, and it's all of that. So that's my big tip there. The whole message of my 12 steps was you should be building a bench. It's far too late to be hiring someone when you need them, because you know what happens. There's no one around. Your goal,
desperation.
One of your big jobs as an agency owner should be, where's my bench? You should be having chats and coffees with people who are out there, because the best people, they're not looking. They're not looking. They're not sitting there doing a search. They're not on LinkedIn looking for, they're doing nothing. So you networking and spotting someone and go, geez, that was an awesome campaign. I loved your What are you up to? What's happening? Oh, yeah, I'm in Thailand. I'm probably coming back to the States in 6 months. Awesome. You should be out having those with the best people and have this bench in the back ready to bring in people, because they're not going to be looking. They're just not. The best people aren't.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. It's like the best, your best employee is somebody else's best employee right now. Right. And usually the people that are looking for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. I mean, yes, this is a hard economic time, and we've had a lot of people that have been furloughed, et cetera. But man, it is really interesting that I've gotten headhunted out of really great organizations because, I might have not even been looking for the opportunity. This is an interesting way to wrap up. And by the way, you're unbelievably generous with your time. I feel like you've given us so much. And I know that everybody who's listening is sitting there like me going, oh my God, where do I put my feet? What would she say about my hands? The boat? I think that she was talking about a pond. What I actually think is interesting, and I'm going to kind of say something big. You both are so intentional about who you hire. So why is it, and maybe you can both answer this, why is it that agencies don't do the same thing when they hire a client?
Oh, that's what we were talking about before. I think you have to pre-vet your clients, and you golf, and we say here a lot of times, you win your bets on the first tee. So it comes down to that understanding who your client is, and if they're not lined up with the values and the skill set of your agency, then you're misaligned from day one, and it's going to be problematic. Try really, really hard not to do that. So finding the right employee and finding the right clients are two things that I think agency owners have to do to make sure that their team maximizes their opportunities.
Yeah, brilliant. And I mean, we all know in the beginning, there's agency owners that they'll say yes to everything. Absolutely. But once you're over that hurdle, I'm going through this exercise with an agency in Colombia right now, big team. And, I could, before on the consulting call, all the things that they were describing, our clients don't understand what we do. And they're very, they don't really get what we do. And I'm like, you get a great sales team, don't you? Oh yeah, they close anything I'm going to bring you, right? The sales team is out there selling freaking fairylands, all the promises in the world. And then they're ended up going, what's this? I thought I was getting this salesperson and this promise. So it's about bringing in together, sitting down with your whole team, sales team, management team, services team, even if it's just 3 people, doesn't matter, or 100 people, and going, let's look at the last 10, 20 clients. What did we love about them? Oh, they were this, they were that, they had this personality. Doing some digging and forensic and archaeological work about what are they like? What were they like? What was their key components? What work did we do for them? Did we like it? Oh no, I hated that. Understanding you're good at things, get those into packages. And they could be the weirdest things. It could be a combination of like 5 things that you went, that's a bit odd. Doesn't matter. Getting really clear about what are you good at? Who do you love working at? And then let the sales team go off and sell that. But get the sales team into a process. Huge, huge, huge thing. Don't be letting them run free that, oh, I'm so good. Yeah, But does the client know what they're getting? Have you followed a system, or have you been really charismatic? Huge thing there. So it's actually a double-edged thing. It's having great salespeople can be good, but not great if you don't have a crystal clear, what are they getting? What does the website look like? How long does it take? Salesperson they don't want to send it. They want to talk about how great the website's going to look. So that combination, clear about the clients that you really love to work with. What are you absolutely brilliant at? And a sales process, not a great salesperson. There's a difference. A great salesperson's good. That's nice. But a process with those other 2, set up.
Well, Clodagh, you put the pro in process, okay? You are the best first guest that we've ever had. That's like my parents saying, "You're my favorite son. You're my favorite son. I'm the only son." So real quick though, this is the theme of our show. We want this thing to be actionable. You have given everybody so much stuff. I know people's heads are probably spinning. You're going to see all the notes and all the videos and all the books that she recommended in the notes for this episode. But we have something here called the one big thing. And I think that we always love ending with it because it's like the most actionable thing somebody, because listen, if you're listening right now, go back and re-listen and take your notes and do all the stuff, right? But if somebody had to leave, turn this thing off, slam their computer shut, turn their iPhone off, and go do one thing today that's going to be impactful for them, what's that piece of advice that you have?
It's going to take taking a notepad and pen as the agency owner and going off into a hotel lobby, take yourself for lunch to your favorite place and go, why are you doing what you're doing? Where is it all going? What does it look like? What boat are you building? Because I guarantee you haven't done that in a very long time. And then you're going to have to communicate that to the team, because you might think they know why you're working with them, but they don't. And most people probably in your life and your family and your friends and your employees are going, you could have a job. Why are you doing this? And they don't know why you're doing it. And they don't know what kind of boat they're on. And they don't know where you're going. So notepad and pen, dig in, take yourself on a working lunch date and dig into those questions. Looking at Tim's got them. Bye-bye, Tim. See you later.
For all of our audio listeners, we
just going out to my favorite restaurant.
Drink some whiskey. Tim's leaving with his notepad. I mean, we've lost all control of the show. Clodagh, you've been wonderful. Thank you so much. We're so happy to not only have you as a resource, but as a friend. We're so thankful.
Thank you, guys. Absolutely.
Thank you. From Ireland, from London, and from beautiful downtown Thames River.
Oh man, she's just the best, isn't she, Tim?
She is. That was great stuff.
Yeah, every time I talk, I swear, this is what this podcast is going to be. It's going to be our incredible friends who we think are amazing in the space. They get to drop all the knowledge and their great expertise, give people something actionable to go do, and then we're left sitting here holding the ashes of how basically Clodagh just burnt up this stage. That's how I feel, and she does it every time.
Love it. No, it's those actionable takeaways, that we're going to break out through the course of this that are so valuable for agency owners, because you get inundated, and those handful of things that Clodagh was talking about that we can take right into practice today. That's the gist of what we hope to bring week after week to make this super valuable.
What was your aha moment during the thing? I'm going to share mine, but what was the aha little moment for you?
As basic as it is, honestly, taking my notepad and just going and grabbing something that I don't have a lot of, which is my time to just think about where we're going, not just for the rest of the fourth quarter, but into 22. And I like that a lot. I used to call that plane time. And, there's less plane time than there used to be for me. And the plane is a great time and place to think, but I liked Clodagh's idea. I'm going to go to my favorite restaurant with my notepad today, and so I'll see you later.
Yeah, great. And the thing that is always crazy, because every time I've heard Clodagh talk so many times, but like I take something new every time. The big thing for me was just the responsibility. Like the team, I always think about the team in a couple of different ways, but I've never really thought about it in the sense of like, we have to like pass down no. We have to set the example for being able to stand our ground. It's not actually up to our employees. There's way more of it that falls on us. And we have to understand that, if there is somebody sub 30, which I didn't want to get way into, but she's so right. Like sub 30, like you're not sitting around doing the same stuff. We've really stripped a lot of our humanity skills out of a generation that is a bit younger. And I think that it is probably up to us to start to reteach some of those things. So I love all the resources in the books and Crucial Conversations and Radical Candor. Like if you're sitting here listening to this episode, you just got a million things to do. But goodness, man, this sets the tone. This sets the tone, Tim.
I love it. All right, we're going to keep doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, everybody. Like we always say, thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us. I hope you got a lot out of it. Do us a favor, go and take action, put some of this stuff into play, and we'll see you next time on Agency Talk.